Today's daf is daf nun. We won't be doing the Yerushalmi today. We pick up with the bottom of Memkadam with better to 2 dots, 3 lines from the bottom, where we have the order Skila Sreifa Henek, and where Rabbi in the Mishnah, Rabbi Shimon, everybody agrees to the 2 pairs. By the way, it's interesting because we had learned that there were, 2 cemeteries, grave, in Basin, one for the weightier one, Skila and Sreif, and one for the lighter, those who have been executed, Hereg and Chenek. So Rabbi Shimon agrees to those 2 pairs, but he reverses the order in each pair. So as opposed to Skila Sreifa, he has Sreifa Skila, and opposed to Hereg Chenek, he has Chenek Hereg. So today's daf is really just going to all be devoted to figuring out how the rabbis get their order and how Rabbi Shimon gets his order. Okay, Skila Chamur Misreifa, Skila is weightier. Shekain Nitna L'Migade for the Ovid or the Zara. So we know Skila, we had actually mentioned it in the previous para, because that dealt with the stoning and the hanging, and one of the hangings was Kiki Lasa L'Kim Talui. So anyway, who gets Skila? Somebody who blasphemes God and worships idols. So that indicates that it's the heaviest one, because obviously that's some of the heaviest sins. So the Gemara says, "My chumrei," and what is that weightiness? Again, poshet yadavika. Somebody is directly rebelling against God. So clearly, that would indicate that that's the weightier punishment, if that's what's designated for those sins. Ad Rabba say the opposite. Shreifa chamur shekeni tenes labasko and shezinsa. Right? The basko and kisechel iznosis aviyahim mechalelas beish kisereif. If a daughter of a Kohen begins to fornicate, and what exactly that means, commit adultery. We'll see more about that in a minute. Anyway, then she has to be burned by a fire. Now, if you ask me, it would seem that Ovid or the Zara is worse than that. So the Gemara says, "My chumrei." Why would I think that gives it weight? It not only maybe is a sin against God, it's a sin against person, it brings shame to the family, so maybe that's weightier. No, Kasavi Rabbanan, the rabbis are of the opinion, Nesua Yotis Sreifa, Velo Arusa. Okay, now here, this is going to be a core issue in terms of understanding how the psukim line up. Okay, but we know the psukim are pretty clear that by a case of adultery, by a Bat Yisrael, by Bat Yisrael, we know that by a case of adultery, Nesua gets Chenek, and Arusa gets Skila. Okay? So that's clear in the Psukim. Okay? So then the question is, and then it says by a Bat Kohen that she gets Sreifa. Now, the assumption, of course, is so this tells us that Skila is more Chomer than Chenek. Because again, the assumption is that Narusa is a weightier sin. Why is it assumed that way? Okay, but it's assumed that way because basically she is, she's bringing shame to her father's house. Not only is she sort of sinning against her husband, she's bringing shame to her father's house. She's in her father's house. That's the way the Psukim frame it. They frame it about that, that she's that put it in the context of Beis Aviyah. So that's just taken for granted that it's assumed that that's weightier. Okay, so that we get that. Now here, the question is, which Bas Kohen gets Sreifa? If both of these get Sreifa, and again, the assumption is Bas Kohen is worse than Bat Yisrael, it's Aviyah Himachalelas, etc. She's singled out. Then it would mean that Sreifa is weightier than Skila, right? You get that? Because if both of these get it, and it's assumed that this is weightier. Now, if, however, so that's what Rabbi Shimon is going to say. But the Chachamim say, not based on any proof of the pasuk, but just based on their general philosophy, they're forced to say that no, we're going to say that this is what, when the Torah says Sreifa, it's talking about Nesua. Whereas this, we're going to assume, not based on any pasuk, we're going to assume that remains Skila.
Why would you upgrade it like a few times?
I don't know. I have no explanation, Michael. Okay, so this is not a proof for them, but it's the way they handle the psukim. Now, the Gemara makes it sound like, this is their proof. Their proof is that Skila, again, because assuming that Arusa is worse than a Nesua, so clearly Skila is worse than Sreifa because a Nesua is Sreifa and an Arusa is Skila. But you didn't prove that. You just assumed that, and you read the psukim like that. Right? You could have, the much more obvious read would be that everything gets Sreifa, and Sreifa is the worst. So that's why there's a long Rashi. And the long Rashi says, the Gemara sounds like it's proving something right now, but it's not proving anything. What it's doing is it's taking its assumptions, it's reading it into the psukim, and then it's reading it right back. Okay, so the Gemara is really not proving right now that skila is worse than sreifa. It's assuming that and reading it into the psukim. And by assuming that and reading it into the psukim, we're going to say the sreifa is limited up here to the nesua, and the worst punishment for the arusa, they're going to assert, is the same, and it's the skila. Okay, so that's how they manage, work with the psukim, but it's not proving anything. So let's just read that in the Gemara. Okay, Kasabri Rabbanan, the rabbis are of the opinion, nesua yotzes l'sreifa v'lo arusa. The nesua bas kohen gets sreifa, not the arusa. After arusa b'skila. So since the arusa is getting skila, which is heavier than sreifa, okay, shma mina skila chamura. You see, skila is weightier. Now again, the Gemara makes it sound like we're proving something. Rashi says we didn't prove anything. Yeah. We just assumed skila was weightier. We read the psukim that way, and now we're reading it back out of the psukim. Okay, so Rashi says, yeah, the Gemara is a little bit like, not precise. Okay, really, the reason we're assuming skila is weightier is what we said in the previous Amud. That if the idolater and the blasphemer get skila, then that has to be the weightiest. Okay, forget that a bas kohen gets sreifa. Give me a break. Idolater and blasphemer is a weightier sin. Mm-hmm. So we start with the assumption that skila is weightier, and then this is just how we manage the psukim, but it doesn't prove anything. Okay.
Burning is more painful.
Probably, but it's
pushing them off.
You're right. The Gemara never. So you're right. The Gemara never, in this whole discussion, assumes that the way we determine how severe the punishment is how disfiguring or painful or bad it is for the person experiencing it. Right? By the way, the way we do burning is also a more, humane way than you would imagine. We don't actually burn the person alive. We pour some molten lead down the person's throat. So not pleasant either, but it's a lot more pleasant than burning alive. Okay. Anyway, but you're right. The Gemara never assumes that we'll use the actual experience of it to determine the ranking. We're just going to use the sin that it's punishment for to try to assess how weighty it is. Okay, so shmamina skila chamura. Now, so that's how we know that skila is weighty. Not, we sort of worked it into the psukim. We just sort of know it because we're asserting that it is. We're asserting that that's got to be the most serious punishment because it's for the idolater. Now, skila chamura misayif. So now we're going to go through all of them. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Skila. So we got sreifa, sayif or hereg, and chenech. Okay, so how do we know skila is greater than sreifa? Because, we fit it into these psukim here, but we're basically saying pashat yada be'ikar. Okay, that's why it's weightier, because it's pashat yada be'ikar, so it's got to be worse. How do we know it's greater than sayif and hereg? Okay, so skilas chamur
misayif proved because of the secondary nature.
It's not proved.
No, I'm saying so.
We work it into these psukim. Okay, we haven't proven it. Okay, skila chamur misayif. How do we know it's greater than sayif? Same point. Okay, because it's poshet yadavikar. It's got to be the weightiest punishment because it's for the idolater. So adarabba sayif chamur. Hey, 1 minute. How about death by the sword? That's what you do when you wipe out the city that commits a avodah zarah. That's also a avodah zarah. So don't go telling me a punishment for a avodah zarah has to be the weightiest. Saif is also a punishment for a avodah zarah. How do you know skila is a weightier punishment? Okay, and I'll prove it to you. Maybe it's even weightier than a normal idolater. Shekain mamonim avad. You destroy the money of your nidachas, so that's a real weighty punishment. Okay, so let's say that saif is weightier. So the Gemara says. Amarta is a koch meruba, koch hamadiach or koch hanidach. Okay, because here's how we'll figure it out. Because if you had to choose, whose punishment would you give as a weightier one? The one who pushes everybody away, makes everybody worship avodah zarah, or the people who do the worship? So presumably, it's the one who gets everybody to be avodah zarah. They're the one that was the inciter and the person to blame for the whole thing, and so on. So Hevi Omer, so koch hamadiach. It must be the one that is pushing them and is getting them to be avodah zarah. The Tanya, and we've taught in the Brisa, which we'll prove later on, the one that pushes the city to avodah zarah, skila, get skila. So, okay, although both of these are pashat yado be'ikar, you know that skila is weightier. Why is skila? I mean, when I put it here, it makes it sound like That's why that thing is. It looks like it's referring to that thing. Okay, so skila is weightier than sreifa because pashat yado tar. It's weightier than sayif because of madiach versus nidach. So since this is the punishment for the madiach, we're going to assume that it's weightier than the sayif, which is the punishment for the nidach.
Right, so I'm not understanding why you're putting saif ahead of sreifa. That's what I was asking.
We're going to get to that.
Oh, right.
Everything in its due time, okay? First we prove this is greater than this, then we prove this is greater than that, then we prove that is greater than that. Okay, sorry everybody. Having one of those days. Okay, so how do we now know that it's greater than chenek? Okay, so let's do this. Okay, how do we know that it's greater than chenek? So, okay. Okay. Well, it's the punishment you get for avodah zarah. That's obviously got to be the weightiest. It's what we said. That you, what do you mean? Chenek is what you get for somebody who smites a father and mother. And the parents are the respect to parents is similar to the respect to God. So that should be right up there. Now Tosfos says it shouldn't be more than God. I mean, if God, so it's okay, but maybe they should be equal. Okay, still, how do you know skila is weightier?
But
maybe
if you curse them, what's your punishment?
Okay, so Tosfos asks that question. Okay, so anyway, we can't worry about all those things. Okay, anyway, because you get skila for cursing them. It's true. I know. Okay. So the Gemara says, so how do we know it's weightier than chenek? No, we know it's weightier because of this, and this is in the psukim. That an arusa gets skila and an nesua gets chenek. Now, of course, how do you know that the arusa is worse? But again, the assumption is that it is because it's a context of beis avia and it brings shame to her father's house and all of that. So that shows you that skila is worse than chenek because of skila is worse than chenek. That you know because of arusa versus nesua. Okay, so now we've proven that skila is greater than all those three. Now what we have to do is prove that sreifa is better than these two, right? And then the sayif is better, weightier, worse, whatever.
And we assume when she's married, she's no longer desecrating her father's household?
Yeah, correct. She's only in the context of her husband's household. Okay. Where were we? Sreifa chamura misayif. Sreifa is weightier than sayif. Shekenita lebas kohen shezinsa. Okay, because it's got to be a weighty sin. You get to the bas kohen gets it. She desecrates her father's house. What do you mean? I mean, saif is pretty weighty. You do it to wipe out the city that commits idolatry. And it's not just idolatry. You even destroy all their money. That's true. Saif seems pretty darn weighty. No. So here's how we know. By both of those sins, by the case of the bas kohen who gets sreifa, and by the arusa who gets skila, it says aviha. What's the pasuk? Rashi says. Let's see. Rashi. Es aviha hi mechalas beis Yisrael. We already said. And what's the one by? There's no space aviha. Okay, that's what it says. There's no space aviha here. Like this one. There's no space aviha. There's no space aviha.
That's aviha.
What? No, and the sreifa is at aviha hi mechalas. Okay, so Nemar avia b'skila, v'nemar avia b'sreifa. Ma'avia amur b'skila, skila chamor misayif. So the same way we've proven here that skila is weightier than sayif. Okay, so this skila here is weightier than sayif. So this sreifa, which also mentions avia, is also going to be weightier than sayif. So the basic way, how do we know sreifa is weightier than sayif? This is really because of Gzeira Shava. Okay, that's just Gzeira Shava.
How do you know the Gzeira Shava, is trumping Pasha Yadov?
What can I tell you? Because we have a system that we got to work out. Okay, it's clear that we're sort of starting and working backwards. Okay, so where are we? I lost my place. Amavi amor beskila skila chamor misayif. Avi amor besreifa sreifa chamor misayif. Sreifa chamor michenek. How do we know sreifa is weightier than chenek? Shekei nitan lebas kohen shezinsa. A bas kohen gets it. That's pretty weighty. Umay chomer ka'amin because she desecrates her father's house. Adarabah chenek chamor shekei nitan lemak avi v'imo. What do you mean? Chenek you get for smiting a parent. Umay chomer shekei hukash shvod l'chvod makom. And that's pretty weighty. That's like hitting God or whatever. It's their honor is due to the honor of God. No, everybody agrees this is an easy one because here a Bas Kohen gets Shreifa and a Bas Yisrael gets Chenek, right? Yes, so that shows you Shreifa is more Chomer than Chenek.
Well, according to the way the Rabbi read that in, that they get that the Shreifa is.
No, everybody agrees that a Bas Kohen gets Shreifa.
Okay. For what?
For at least for Nesuah, if not for both, but certainly it's weightier than Chenek. Nobody says you don't get it for Nesuah. Okay, so Shreifa is weightier than Sayif by Xer Shava, and it's weightier than Chenek based on the fact of Bat Kohen versus Bat Yisrael. Okay, so the last thing we have to prove is that Sayif is weightier than Chenek. Okay. Okay, Sayif Chomer Michenek Shekei Nitan L'Anshe Yonidachas. You give it to the Anshe Yonidachas. That's pretty weighty. Umay Chomer Shekei Mamon Avad, and it's pretty serious. Not only is it Avodah Zarah, but you destroy their money. Adarabah Chenek Chomer Shekei Nitan L'Mak Avi V'Imo. Umay Chomer Shekei Hukash Kvod M'Chvon Makom. Okay, but still, I don't know. Chenek is for is about parents, and that's pretty weighty. Afilu Hachi Poshet Yado B'Ikar Adiv. Nah, okay, we can't really, it's similar to what Rashi said of how we know Skila is more weighty than Shreifa. Things that are about Avodah Zarah have got to be weightier than things that are not about Avodah Zarah. Okay, so the way we know Saif is greater than Chenek is that this is for Avodah Zarah and this is not for Avodah Zarah.
That didn't work for before to put the Shreifa, secondary position.
I understand. I don't know. What can I tell you?
So we end up right back where we started.
Well, we didn't. Well, we tried to prove what we were sent out to prove. So this is how the rabbis prove they are hierarchy. Okay. Now we switch to Rabbi Shimon. Okay, so what we're going to do for Rabbi Shimon is we're going to start the other way, right? We're going to start by first proving that Shreifa is better than all the rest. It's going to be Chenek and then Herek for him. This is going to be his order. Okay, so we're going to prove Shreifa is greater, then we're going to prove Skila is greater than these two, and then Chenek is greater than Herek. Okay.
Like watching a horror movie.
What?
That's all their energy out of like watching a horror movie.
Okay.
Let's imagine all these.
That's interesting. All right. Rabbi Shimon Omer, so the Gemara says, Shreifa chamor miskila, shekein nitenos lebas kohen shezinsa. Okay. Umak truma, shekein mechalez asavia. So Shreifa is pretty weighty. It's for a bas kohen. Adarabah skila chamor shekein nitenos lemegadev lo avodah kohen. What do you mean? Skila is even weightier. It's for avodah zarah and megadev, right? That logically that's pretty weighty. So how why would you put Shreifa higher up than that? Okay, Umay Chomer Shekei Poshet Yad B'Ikar. So Reb Shimon l'Taimei. So now Reb Shimon is going to go according to his reasoning based on Bas Kohen. Damar Achaz Aruv Achaz Nesua Yotzis Shreifa. So this really is for the Chachamim. It's how we manage the psukim that they wouldn't contradict their system. We manage the psukim by saying Shreifa is only for Nesua, which allows Skila to be the weightiest. So that didn't contradict their system, right? Everybody with me, right, in terms of that, right? But the simple sense of the psukim is that Shreifa is for everything by a Bat Kohen. So if Shreifa is for everything, that's Rabbi Shimon's point of departure. So Skila is weightier than Chenek, and Shreifa is weightier than both of them. Because at Bas Kohen, we're assuming if she's singled out or whatever, and there's more chilul, that's going to be weightier. So how do you know Shreifa is weightier than Skila? Because of Bat Kohen. Okay? So this, it's weightier because of the Bat Kohen.
So it means that Zinut is worse than Avodah Zarah.
You can't make those types of statements. What can I tell you? I mean, you're right.
Why?
Can you go ahead and use the hierarchy of the misos to say that's sort of where the Gemara starts? But since the Gemara resolved some of the things by external proofs, right? I mean, it would be a funny conclusion to say something like that.
Why? Like,
yes.
There's other places. I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's not the day to do this to you. But there's other places where sins between us and Hashem get lesser punishment than sins between us and people. So
I understand.
We can at least.
Okay, here's the homework assignment. I understand that. Meaning, once the Gemara is number one, giving a ranking. Now, okay, let me just say one thing, which I don't know if it was mentioned when Michael read the Mishnah. The Gemara will come up to this. What is the point of giving the ranking? Like, who cares? So the really halachic who cares about this whole ranking is if somebody has been given 2 death sentences, you give them the weightier one. That's the only who cares. Okay, but you are right that since which graveyard, that's to divide it into 2 groups. That's divided into 4 is for this purpose. So it is true that in order to determine it, the Gemara assumes that we can look at the weightiness of the sin and determine how to rank. Some of the ways it does rank it is based on their assumption of the weightiness of the sin, and some of it is based on external types of proofs, like something like this or whatever. So once you're done, though, the halachic implication is if somebody is liable, both which one you give them. But you could say, great, now let's go back. Now we've broken the code. Now we're going to go back and look at all the death penalties and determine which sins the Torah considers to be weightier than which ones. Okay, I'm just telling you, I find it very hard to come up with a system that makes sense based on that. So I will give a little homework assignment for everybody. Okay, you have a day off from work today. It's Labor Day. You can use your extra time. Go and look at the Rambam in Hilchos Sanhedrin. He lists all of the punishments for all the various misas based in all the different sins, and tell me if you can come up with some type of a system. Okay, to me it does seem sometimes it's a little arbitrary, but I do understand if the Gemara is trying to infer from its understanding of the weightiness, that's going to now go ahead and say, like Michael said, okay, so Nus of a Bas Kohen has to be a worse sin than Oved Avodah Zarah. All right, so see if you can come up with a system. But we're going to now continue to really explain all of the different sins. But we're going to continue. Okay, so it says like this. Okay. The Damar Echad Arus Vachas Nesua Yatzalu Shreifa. But after Achman Arus Bas Kohen Michlal Arus Bas Yisrael Miskilu Shreifa. So since the Bas Kohen gets Shreifa rather than Skilu, Shema Mina Shreifa Chamor. Shreifa must be weightier. Shreifa Chamor Mechenek. Kikini Tenos the Bas Kohen Shezinsa. Okay, Shreifa's got to be pretty weighty. A Bas Kohen gets it, and therefore it's weightier than Chenek. What do you mean? Chenek is getting for somebody who smites a parent. That's got to be pretty weighty because it's comparable to the honor of God. Of course, if Sreifa trumps an Avodah Zarah sin, it should probably trump a Maka Avi V'imo sin. But anyway, so the Gemara says no. Again, we can prove Sreifa is weightier than Chenek. That's easy again. Sreifa is weightier than Chenek. Because Sreifa is weightier than Skila, because a Bas Kohen gets it, who's an Arusa, rather than Skila. Sreifa is weightier than Chenek, that an Nesua Bas Kohen gets it rather than Chenek, right? So Sreifa is clearly weightier than those two, okay? So it's weightier than this and weightier than this because of the Bas Kohen reason again. Now, how do we know Sreifa is weightier than Herek? All right? Shreifa Chamor Misayif, Shekain Nitenas Lebas Kohen Shezinsa. Well, we're going to assume it's weighty because of the Bas Kohen. What do you mean? Saif, you wipe out the whole city of Avodah Zarah. That's pretty weighty. Why is that weighty? And it's not just normal Avodah Zarah, but it's even, it's a whole city and you destroy their money. So presumably that's a pretty weighty punishment. No. Because which is going to be a weightier sin and a weightier punishment? The one who pushes them or the people who are pushed? Obviously, you're going to give a weightier punishment to the one who pushes them astray. Okay, now what does the Mediach Nigachat's guess is? Skila. So Skila is clearly going to be weightier than Hereg. This is the Mediach Nidachas, and this is the Nidachas itself. So if Skila is weightier than Hereg and Sreifa is weightier than Skila, you do your transitive axiom of inequality. Okay. People don't remember that.
I don't remember what that was called.
Okay. Right? A is greater than B, B is greater than C, so A is greater than C.
All that time at that small liberal arts college in
Exactly.
Cambridge.
Exactly. Hey, that was high school. Okay. So Chenek is weightier than Sayef. Oh, 1 minute. Okay, I'm sorry, but I got one. Rabbi Shimon actually holds, Chachamim held that Medicha Ir Nigachas gets Skila. Rabbi Shimon holds that Medicha Ir Nigachas gets Chenek, but it still allows for a Kavul Chomer. Okay, so this is Ir Nidachas, and this for Rabbi Shimon, Chachamim say that the Medicha would get Skila, but for Rabbi Shimon, this is Medicha Ir Nidachas. Okay, so the Medichim clearly is weightier than the Nidachim. And if Sreifa trumps Chenek, because we know up here for Bas Kohen, it's going to trump Hereg as well. Okay? So, Chenek shechamer misayev. So chenek is weightier than sayev because the mediach is worse than the nidach. Sreifa chamura mimenu, and sreifa is worse than chenek. So sayev chakal lo kol shekain, certainly by sayev. Okay, so that's how we get it. Sreifa is weightier than these two because of bas kohen, and it's weightier than hereg because we rank hereg below chenek based on the ir nidachas, the mediach and the nidach. Okay, so that's how we got sreifa weightier than those. Now we're going to do skila weightier than these two. Okay, so skila chamur michenek. Skila is weightier than chenek. So shekain yitenas lamagadev will be the what is called chavim. Because come on, skila is for idolatry and blasphemy. And its weightiness is for that sin. So adarabah chenek chamur chenek could be weightier. Shekain yitel lamaka aviv imo. Umay chumer shekain hukash chodim l'chod makom. All right, but okay, chenek is for smiting a parent, and that's pretty weighty. That's comparable to the honor of God. So how do you know that skila is weightier than chenek? That's an easy one. Back to Arusa versus the Nesua of the Bas Yisrael. So after Achmana la Arusa Bas Yisrael Michlam Nesua Bas Yisrael Michenek l'skila Shmamina skila chamura. Note from the Arusa versus Nesua, you know that skila is chamur. Okay, so how do we know here that we use a different color? How do we know here that skila is weightier than chenek? Because of Arusa versus Nesua. Okay, now, how are we going to know that skila is weightier than hereg? Okay, so shmamina skila chamur misayev shekeni tenes lemagadev. Okay, we're going to start with the assumption skila is weightier because the blasphemer gets it and the idolater. What do you mean? Sayev is worse. That you wipe out the whole city of idolaters. And it's a pretty weighty punishment because you're also destroying their property. Amarta, no, we're going to go back to the Madiach and the Nidach. Which is weightier? The one who pushes or the one who's pushed? The one who pushes. So, because we know that this is chenek is weightier than hereg, because this is what the Medicha ir nidachas gets, and this is what the ir nidachas gets. So that tells us that, and we obviously assume that the Medicha gets something worse. So we know that chenek is worse than hereg. Okay, and once chenek is worse than hereg, and skila is worse than chenek, based on this, so skila is also going to be worse than hereg. Okay, because this just creates that hierarchy. So then we're just going to extend it. Okay, so chenek is weightier than sayev because of the medicha ir nidachas skila chamur mimenu. Skila is weightier than it. Sayev hakal lo koshkein. So certainly that it is so certainly skila will be worse than sayev. If skila is worse than chenek, skila is going to be worse than sayev because of this. This already ranks these two, and that's going to now do our last job. Our last job is going to be showing how do we know that chenek is weightier than hereg, and that's what we're working off of the mediach and the nidach. Once we got that, it allowed us to do what we needed to do by skila. Okay, so chenek chomer misayev. How do you know chenek is weightier than sayev? So first we're going to start with what chenek you get for hitting a father. Let's say saif is weightier. What do you mean? Saif, you wipe out the city. What?
This was a softball.
This is an easy one. Right. Now we're going to actually quote the source. That we referenced earlier when we were doing with the Rabbanan. Okay, so we did it. We ranked it for Rabbi Shimon was the easy one, by the way. Once he put Sreifa here, then you got Sreifa weightier than these two. You got Skila weightier than Chenek. You got most of your system worked out, okay? Except he had Chenek worse than Hereg, which was a little surprising, but that's because of the Medichi, Nidachas, and the Nidachi. Okay? So that's Rabbi Shimon. All right?
What are the two different opinions of what a subverter gets?
What who gets?
Medea.
So why does one say a subverted of a city?
Medea. Yeah, we haven't learned it out. It's based on how they read the Psukim. We haven't learned that out yet. Okay.
Are we going to?
Yes. Okay. So for the Rabbanan, we've got Skila, Sreifa, and then Hereg, Chenek. And for Rabbi Shimon, we have Sreifa, Skila. Whoops. Skila. Then Chenek. Okay, each one of them gets reversed.
Wasn't there something back with you can't learn out from your Nadachat something, or I don't know. Was there something like that?
I'm not
You
sure
can't
what you're
use that as an analogy for something. No?
I'm not sure what you're referring to. Okay. All right. So now the Gemara says like this. Margala Bapume, where am I? Okay. I lost my place. Margala Bapuma to Rabbi Yochanan. It was a pearl in the mouth of Rabbi Yochanan. Means like a favorite saying of his. Rashi also says it means that it was something that he did not have from a, that he did not have from a tradition, like from a Mishnah or Bright. It was his own saying, something he sort of, developed himself. He was a pearl of it in his mouth was, nice phrase. Margala Bapume, it's used like in later rabbinic literature, like Margala Bapume. Okay, anyway, Margala Bapume Rabbi Yochanan, Nara Murasa Bas Kohen Shazinsa, Beskila. You've got a Nara Murasa who's also Bas Kohen. Okay, that's this one here, the Nara Murasa, the Arusa, who's a Bas Kohen. So is she going to get Skila or Sreifa? That is the crux, one of the major sort of locuses of the debate of Reb Shimon and the Rabbanan. Reb Shimon says every Bas Kohen gets Sreifa. Sreifa is weightier. The Chachamim say no. Only the Nesua gets Sreifa. The Arusa gets Skila. Okay, and that allows Skila to remain weightier. Okay, so that's where he's going to start. Nara Murasa Bas Kohen Shazinsa Beskila. So she would get Skila, and Reb Shimon Omer Besreifa. She would get Sreifa. That's exactly their debate, how to read the Psukim, and therefore which is weightier, Sreifa or Skila. Okay. Similarly, Zinsa Me Avia. Let's say this Nara Murasa actually commits adultery with her own father. Okay? Now, the sin of sleeping with a daughter or a daughter sleeping with a father is Sreifa. So she is not a Bas Kohen. She's just your standard Nara Murasa, which everybody agrees gets Skila. But she then went ahead and did this act of adultery with her father, which gets Sreifa. So that's a person who did two sins. You give them the weightier one, which would be the weightier one.
Well, depends who you are.
She would get Sreifa. The same way when she moves into the Bas Kohen category. She's a normal she's a normal person who gets Skila, but she's now also a Bas Kohen, and she gets Sreifa. She gets Sreifa, that's for Shimon. So when she moves into the father category, she gets Sreifa, that's the weightier one. But for the Chachamim, the Skila always remains the weightier one. So, even as a Bas Kohen, she gets Skila, and even with her father, she will get Skila. Skila remains the weightier one. Let's just read the line, then I'll take the question. So, Zinsa Me Avia Beskila. Similarly, Skila would be the weightier one for being an Nara Murasa. Reb Shimon Omer Bisreifa, and Reb Shimon says Bisreifa. My Kamash Milan, what's this teaching us? Rabbanan Nesua Yotzis L'Sreifa V'lo Arusa. That once the Torah says Sreifa here, the rabbis limit it to the Nesua. They keep the Arusa at the Skila level because for them that's the weightier punishment. Reb Shimon Achaz Arucha V'Achaz Nesua Yotzis L'Sreifa. And Reb Shimon, they both get Sreifa. The time of my why, Mishum de L'Abanan, Skila Chamura, Reb Shimon, Sreifa Chamura, because for the rabbi, Skila is weightier, so we can't have Sreifa here, replace Skila. And Reb Shimon, Sreifa is weightier. Nafkamina, Lemisha Nitchayev Shtei Nisus based in, and in general, the implication is somebody's deserving two punishments, Nidin B'Chamura, and they get the weightier one. So in a way, you could think about that. That's what happens here. Bas Yisrael gets Skila. Now she deserves a second punishment. Not really, it's the same sin, but a second punishment for a Bas Kohen. So if you think that Sreifa is weightier, then Sreifa will trump. That's what Shimon says. If you think that Skila is weightier, then no, it's just going to remain at Skila. And the same would be true if this Bas Yisrael would have her act of adultery would be with her father, okay, which is a sin of Sreifa. So Shimon Sreifa, wins out because it's weightier, and for the Rabbanan, Skila remains the weightier one, and she gets Skila. Yes, Jenny, you have a question.
I was just she still gets kind of the punishment of disgracing her father's household when her father was doing this.
Yeah, when her father is the disgracer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. That's assumed to be the case. Although, would it matter in that case? Because both the Bas Kohen status is a Sreifa status, and the sex with the father is a Sreifa. So
right, but the Arusa versus Nisua, the reason we're saying Arusa is worse is because of
the Beis Avia. Well, that's true. Yeah,
There's already disgrace.
Right, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so now the Gemara says like this. All right. See, that went better than we thought it would go. I think. Okay, anyway. So now the Gemara says, oh my God, you should try to do the Yerushalmi on this. It's impossible. Okay, anyway, the Gemara says like this. Okay. Now, my Rabbi Shimon. Where is this Rabbi Shimon? Where do we see them? Meaning, we're all saying that their debate, the crux of their debate is around reading these psukim. But we haven't seen them explicitly debate these psukim. So here we're going to see it. Okay? Titani, we've done a brisa. Rabbi Shimon Omer. Shnei klolos nemru v'vas kohen. So there are two different categories of v'vas kohen, an nesua and an arusa. So the Gemara says, v'vas kohen, v'lo v'vas Yisrael. What do you mean? Only v'vas kohen? Bas Yisrael also, there's an Nesua and an Arusa, and two different levels of punishment. Now, Ema af Bas Kohen, meaning, okay, fine. But the starting point for Bas Kohen is the same as the point of departure for Bat Yisrael, that you would start with Chenek for Nesua and Skila for an Arusa. That would be your starting point for everybody, Bas Yisrael or Bas Kohen. Okay? So that was your starting point. The Hotia Kasav Nesua, Michlal Nesua, Arusa Michlal Arusa. So this was our starting point. And then, when we're dealing with the Bas Kohen, it's saying, oh, an Nesua Bas Kohen is different than an Nesua Bas Yisrael. It's Shreifa rather than Chenek. And an Arusa Bas Kohen is worse, is different than an Arusa Bas Yisrael. It's Shreifa rather than Skila. So it took her out of both of those categories of Chenek and Skila and replaced both of those things with Shreifa. Okay?
So he says, Hotzia Kasav Nesua Mikol Nesua. Did you read that?
Yes. Yes.
How do we know that it applies to
That's just his reading of the Pasuk. It
Okay,
says the
fine.
Bas Kohen gets Shreifa. But we start with, this is the story about Israel, and then we say Shreifa. Well, that says the Nesua is going to be different, and the Arusa is going to be different. And it's not going to be Chenek and Skila, it's going to be Shreifa for each. Okay? The Hotzia goes of Nesua, Michlal Nesua, Arusa, Michlal Arusa. So the same way, obviously, the Shreifa is obviously a worse punishment than Chenek. So, so clearly, Shreifa is going to also be worse than Skila. Bas Kohen is going to be worse than Bas Yisrael. Once you assume that this applies to both categories of Nesua and Arusa, this tells you that Shreifa is weightier than Skila. Okay, that's what we've been saying all along. It's just the Bryce and now it's just spelling it out. Okay, now that we're talking about that, that tells us our basic principle that this is talking about both types of women, and that implicitly, therefore, Shreifa is worse than Skila. Now we're going to say some other things about a Bas Kohen. Okay? V'zomimei, where are we? Zomimei Nesua Bas Kohen, B'chlal Zomimei Nesua Bas Yisrael. V'zomimei Arusa Bas Kohen, B'chlal Zomimei Arusa Bas Yisrael. So the pasuk says, Asavia hi mechaleles ba'esh tisaref. Okay? So it's Asavia he mechaleles ba'esh tisaref. So it's tisaref. So it's he b'sreifa v'lo zomemeha b'sreifa. So because there is a particular weight of the fact of mechalo beis aviha, it somehow seemed like, and this is strange because whatever, Eidim Zomim, you always just attach the same sin to the Zomimim, even though they didn't do it themselves, right? So, I don't know, if a murderer is a Shofech Dam, the Zomim aren't Shofech Dam, but you give them the same punishment. But here it's understood that if there are Zomimim, people that try to, lie and to say witnesses that she did it, so while you attach to them the sin of adultery, you don't attach to them the sin of Mechalo Beis Aviha. I don't really understand it. Only he gets the punishment of Shreifa for Mechalo Beis Aviha. The Zomimim would get the punishment as if she weren't a Bas Kohen. You strip the special status of a Bas Kohen to apply to the Zomimim. Okay, maybe it's something of a male and a female thing. I'm serious. Like most sins, right? I mean, it doesn't matter who the perpetrator is, man or woman. I mean, even the sin of adultery, which requires a man and a woman, it wouldn't matter. The sin and the punishment doesn't matter which role you're playing. Okay, whereas this can only be something that the woman can be mechalo beis avia. The adulterer wasn't mechalo the father's house, if you think about it, right? So the adult, she was machal the father's house, but the adulterer wasn't. So even though they don't know who the adulterer was, and they're just lying and coming to testify falsely against her, you treat them in the man's role and not in the woman's role. And therefore, if there's the zomimim here, they get the punishment that the non-Bas Kohen would get, because this is also the same punishment like that the man would get. Okay, so the zomimim Bas Kohen of a Nesua gets the Bas Yisrael punishment of an Nesua, and the Zomei Bas Kohen of an Arusa gets the Bas Yisrael punishment, which would be remove her special Kohen status, and apply that. So let me just read that again. Okay. They would get the same punishment as if they would have been Zomim about Bas Yisrael. The Zomei Arusa Bas Kohen because Zomei Arusa Bas Yisrael. Okay, you had a question, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You're saying you didn't know the adultery, but you have to know enough to know that he wasn't Jewish. I mean, he was Jewish, things like that.
Right, it's true, but we still have those cases. Okay, Tana Rabbanan. So that's another little interesting parentheses about the Bas Kohen, that it's only about her, not about, by the way, well, we haven't discussed this either, I just told you, but the punishment to her would not apply to him, the man, and also wouldn't apply to the Zomim. Okay, it's a special status that only applies to her.
What about the Zomi?
Yeah, whatever. Tana Rabbanan say. Okay, Ubas Kish Kohen Kisechel Lisnos. Okay, now that we're going to talk about Bas Kohen, this is so much the crux of these debates. Let's talk about this pasuk a little bit more. Okay, Bas Kohen, Ish Kohen Kisechel. Yochel afilu chilula es Shabbat. Okay, Kitechel and it's avia he mechalelas. It's in it. What is the first? Obviously, okay. But what is the first techel? Does the first techel mean begin? Or is it also echoing when she desecrates, please note, because it's avia hi mechalelas. So anyway, we're bracketing for a moment the word please note and saying, what's the pasuk talking about? Maybe it's talking about chil Shabbos, and maybe that brings desecration to her father's house. Yachal afilu chilulas Shabbos, Talmud Lomar please nos. Okay, but chilulin shebis nus agasin nedaber, a desecration that comes through fornication, through sex. Okay. Yachal afilu pnuya. Now maybe please nos means even it's a reasonable read of the psukim, right? The Psukim just said, she's a daughter. It doesn't say, Psukim usually tell you when she's Arusa or Nesua. Okay, maybe it just means, maybe that's a shame to this honored, the Kohen house is supposed to be this higher level, etc. Yachal afilu pnuya, nemer kanavia, v'nemer lalanavia. It says by the Esavia, what was it, by the Arusa here? We had it before. There's no space avia. Okay, by the Arusa, it says Liznot Beit Aviha. Liznot Beit Aviha. It also has Liznot, by the way. Okay, and Aviha Himachalelas. So, Malahalan's Nus Im Zika Sabal, there the Torah is explicit, right, when it talks about the Arusa, that it means, and that says, Me'ora Sal Ish, that she has a relationship to her husband. Afghan's Nus Im Zika Sabal, here too. So we know it's Nus, because it's Liznos. And based on the avia and the comparison of lisnos and beis avia, etc., we know it means she's married. Okay. Now we don't know is she nesua or arusa. That's the debate of Rabbi Shimon and the Chachamim. Rabbi Shimon says, fine, that's all we know. She's married and she had sex, so therefore it's everybody nesua or arusa. The rabbis, to accommodate their weightiness of skila, have to limit this to nesua. Okay, but that's to accommodate their position. Okay. Now. So it says like this. Oh no, maybe it means esavia hi mechaleles. Maybe it means like that idea we had before, that case we had before. Maybe it means she actually had intercourse with her father. Okay, maybe that's the case for the pasuk, that she had intercourse with her father. Okay, no, Shuomer hi mechaleles. She's desecrating her father's household, and not this sort of like what Jenna said. Her father isn't the one desecrating his own household. She's desecrating. Have you Omer kol adam and more? So it means that she's having, sex with somebody else. Hamani mekayim avia. So what's the purpose of avia? Therefore, if nemar kanavia v'nemar lalan avia, again to link it to the naramu rasa. Malalan's nusim zika sabal, afkan's nusim zika sabal. Okay, so we have these notes. We have that means she's doing znus. Avia links it to the avia here that she is a married woman. Okay. Now, as long as we're linking them, why don't we say against Rabbi Shimon and the Rabbanan? Rabbi Shimon says it's both Nesua and Arusa, right? The Rabbanan says it's just Nesua to allow Arusa to remain skila. But if we're linking it with avia and lisnos and so on, why not say this is only talking about a naramu rasa? That would be actually quite reasonable. The Torah elsewhere says it's avia, like lisnos space avia. Here it speaks about lisnos and beis avia. So maybe let's just say that both of them is naramu rasa. You know why? Not just a word link. Beis avia means she hasn't yet moved out of her father's house. She's not yet off and living with her husband as a nesua. So the pshat of beis avia would be an arusa. So why not? Nobody says that the case of Bas Kohen is just an arusa. But why not say it? Okay, so Ima lahala nara via rusa afka nara via rusa. Nara via nesua, if she's a nara and she's a nesua, bogeres, or let's say she's not a nara, let's say she's a bogeres via rusa. Bogeres via nesua, vafilu he's kina minayin. So how do you know? Well, fine, we sort of said that pshat is, and this works of course with Rabbi Shimon, that it's talking about nara murasa, right? That's Beisavi, etc. How do you know to expand it to talk about everything? And certainly the Rabbanan say it's talking only about a nesua. Talmud Lomar, ubas kohen, kisei chelis knows. So mikol makom, okay. So now is that the extra vav ubat kohen? Is it the fact that it describes her as a bat kohen and it doesn't describe her as a na'ara, right? Because every other place it always says kitia na'ara murasa li'ish or whatever. It always starts with describing her as a na'ara. Here it starts by describing her as a bat kohen, which is pretty generic. But she's always everybody is a mother's child. So everybody is and however old she is, she's always a bat kohen. Okay, so anyway, that's how we know that it's applying. So we have the case that she's married based on the link to Nara Murasa. We have the bat kohen that tells us it's talking about any marriage, any age. That's what applies. This is Rabbi Shimon. It applies to all cases of a bat kohen. Let's read one more line. Look at that. We actually finished the daf. I'll read one more line. Bat Kohen. Enli Elish Nisas LeKohen. Now I only know if she's married to a Kohen. Nisas LeLevi Yisrael of Kohen Lechal Lamamzel and Sin.
How do you know if she's only married to a Kohen?
I know. So Rashi says the Havamina, or the Gemara says, how do I know that? But somehow maybe because it's about her status of a Kohen, maybe I would think that if she was married to Israel, she wouldn't have the full Bas Kohen status. It's a funny Havamina. Okay, the same way was a Havamina, we're talking about Chilul Shabbos. We're just putting out the Havamina to reject it. How do I know even if she's married to a Kohen, a Levi Yisrael? Now, Nisin and Mamzer are interesting. At least Mamzer you could say, but Ovi Kocham is interesting. Ovi Kocham, it's not even a binding marriage. Okay, so we'll have to worry about all of this. But anyway, what? It seems like it. Well, we'll see about it tomorrow. Anyway.
Steinsos is different.
Yeah, some have kuti or whatever.
Yeah, he has kuti.
But kuti is probably, that's always a question whether that's a censorship. Anyway, we'll worry about it tomorrow. Okay, how do I know even if she's not married to one, even if her marriage is be'isser? Okay, as long as it's binding, right? A marriage to a mamzer is be'isser, but it's binding. A marriage to like a relative isn't even binding. But how do I know any state of being married? Of course, the non-Jew is shocking because the non-Jew we would assume, of course, is not binding. Anyway, Talmud Lomar ubat ish kohen alpha bishaina kohenet. Even though her marriage, some degree, removes, it's always fascinating, the word phrase of kohenet, right? It's usually women are usually defined in reference to their father, by Israel, by Kohen, and so on, right? To what degree sometimes there's actually a halacha, for example, that you could give, like the matnas kahuna of like Zerah L'chaim and Keva, you could actually give it to a bat Kohen. It doesn't have to give it only to a Kohen. Sometimes a woman actually is recognized status as a Kohenet. So here it's sort of saying, here it's enough that she's a bat Kohen. We're not concerned that personally she has a full Kohen status, which could be seen somehow to be compromised by the fact that she's married to a non-Kohen. As long as she's a bat Kohen, whatever her own personal identity is, how purely Kohanic her personal identity is, she's a bat Kohen, and that suffices. It was a very funny Havamina. Okay, but anyway, we'll continue. We'll continue with this tomorrow. Yes, one last question.
Just it's particularly interesting because a Kohen, if he marries someone who's not supposed to, gives up the Kohen.
No, the Kohen, when he does a forbidden marriage, the children are chalalim, but his personal status is not compromised. Let me actually wait. Okay, fine. We'll end here. Okay, so we'll pick up with this tomorrow. All right, not bad.